day. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Well, hello, Oshkosh. Thank you very much. Wow. Wow. I don't know what happened. Something happened. This was supposed to be just a quick little small gathering. This is what's happening. And we call it a peaceful protest. That way you can, we're supposed to have 50 people, right? So we have a little more. And they turned away a lot of people outside. So we'll call it a peaceful protest. That way we can do whatever we want. That's what they call it in New York and these different places, Portland. When they're rioting all over the streets, they say it was a peaceful protest, so you could have thousands of people doing it. We'll do the same thing. I'm truly thrilled to be here with you. The hardworking patriots of Wisconsin. Thank you. Thank you. It's a big group of people. This is like a rally. It's not supposed to be a rally. We're not supposed to have a rally. Well, I hereby grant you a pardon. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I want to thank you. Thank you. In the months ahead, we will need every ounce of your strength and drive and patriotism. We're in a fight for the survival of our nation and civilization itself. We are really in a fight. This is the most important election we've ever had, in my opinion. And I used to say it, and I'd say it with great conviction, 2016. But you know what? That wasn't crazy people we were dealing. They were, on the edge. Crooked Hillary was on the edge. She was on the verge. She became crazy later on when she lost. That's what she became. But these are people that are seriously radical left. Joe Biden is nothing but their puppet. He has no clue what's happening. And they're making speeches that are taped. Who wants to listen to Michelle Obama do a taped speech? No, you got to have her get up there. But we're doing a real speech on Thursday, next Thursday, so you'll be listening. Doing it live from the White House. Live from the White House. So we have plenty to say. So Joe Biden and the Democrats have pledged to impose $4 trillion of new taxes. So this is a group of people that think it's good to raise everybody's taxes. In the old days, a politician would lower taxes, right? The great Scott Walker is here, your governor, right? Thanks, Scott. And Scott would lower taxes, but now the whole thing, I guess it's changed. It's gone inside out. Now everyone says we're going to raise your taxes, but Republicans are lowering your taxes. We gave you the biggest tax decrease in the history of our country, and we're going lower. But they're going to massively increase your regulations in addition to your taxes. They're going to confiscate the guns of law-abiding Americans. They're going to take away your Second Amendment. They're going to make America a sanctuary for criminal aliens. They're going to keep those sanctuary cities. They love sanctuary cities. They're going to protect the criminals, abolish American energy, and make us reliant on foreign nations, and force taxpayers to fund extreme late-term abortion. That's what they're doing. They also want to abolish the suburbs by allowing far-left Washington bureaucrats to force the construction of low-income housing projects in every neighborhood in America. That's what they want to do. That's their goal. And we're going to let you preserve your American dream in the suburbs, okay? We ended the program. We ended the program. The voters of Wisconsin are very, very spectacular people. We are going to take care of you at every level. We are going to fight for you. We are going to fight for every single aspect that you have going. We are never going to forget you. You didn't forget me in the last election, so I want to thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I want to thank you very much. It's great. So we issued a regulation, and you know we ended that regulation because when we talk about suburbs and we talk about other things, we have taken care of about 84% of Obama regulations, executive orders. You know, it's amazing. We knocked out a big portion of what he did, including the wonderful mandate, right? The individual mandate on Obamacare, which totally, by the way, by far the worst of all of Obamacare. We took it out. Essentially, that ended Obamacare. And then you say, so we knocked out 84% of what he did, and then they say he was a wonderful president. Why was he a wonderful president if we knocked out, in a very popular way, knocked out 84%? The voters of Wisconsin face a simple choice. Do you want to be ruled by the radical left mob, or do you want to stand tall as free men and women in the greatest country on earth and keep it that way? Do you want to crush our economy under the crazy socialist policies of sleepy Joe Biden and his boss, Kamala Harris, and his other boss, Nancy Pelosi, she's a beauty, and his ruler, Bernie Sanders, crazy Bernie? Or do you want to quickly rebuild the strongest economy in the history of the world, which we did? We're going to have to do it again. We're going to have to do it again, and we're in the process of doing it. We built the greatest economy on earth, and now we're doing it again. You look at all the numbers. We're going to go over them. Do you want to defund and defame and dismantle the police? I don't think so. Do you want to support the incredible heroes of law enforcement? Yes, right? Do you want your friends and family to be persecuted by the far left wing? It's called cancel culture, right? Cancel culture. Or do you want to defend our history, our heroes, our faith, our values, and our treasured American way of life, which is what we have? Now, don't believe the lies you're going to hear on tape. Mostly it's going to be taped. I wonder, is Joe Biden taping his speech too? Because if he is, I think I'll tape mine. How do you watch it taped? They talk about a convention. How do you watch a taped speech? I would imagine Joe is going to do everything he can to tape it. I saw them asking him questions today. It was a news conference, then he read them off a teleprompter. I don't get it. I don't get it. Something going on up there. We can't afford it. You know, I can tell you this. Look, from doing this now, we built the greatest economy in the world. We rebuilt our military. We gave you the greatest tax cuts in history. Gave you the greatest regulation cuts. We became energy independent. We've done things that nobody thought possible, right? Nobody thought possible. We've done things that nobody ever thought. You had the greatest year in the history of your state last year. Greatest year. And when you look at the numbers, you're going to have an even greater year next year, unless somebody comes in and quadruples your taxes, in which case it's called a depression, folks. It's called a depression. It's not going to happen because we're going to win. We're going to win. Biden is just a Trojan horse for socialism. He is. He's a Trojan horse. He has no clue, but the people around him are tough, and they're smart, but we disagree with them very, very strongly. They're mean, and they're angry, like her. By the way, nobody treated Joe Biden worse than Kamala, right? She was worse than Pocahontas. She was worse than anybody on stage. Nobody treated him worse or with, less respect. She had no respect. All of a sudden, she's now saying, isn't he wonderful? She didn't feel that way a little while ago. Let's talk about her for a second. She left in shame. She started at 14. She left at 2. She went in the wrong direction. So if a poll is any indication, that's what we want. Speaking of polls, fake news CNN, they probably have their camera going, thank you very much. No, we have to. Frankly, their pollster is much better than Fox because Fox has never gotten it right. Fox pollster, I don't know who he is, but he hasn't had a clue for about 7 years Let me just tell you that CNN gave us an increase of 10 or 11 points in just a short period of time that we went up, and now they call it margin of error. Don't believe it. We're way beyond the margin of error. Don't believe it. I just got back from Texas and Florida and Ohio. We were all over the place. We went to great states, and every roadway and highway, we had thousands, tens of thousands. I would say at least on each one, 100,000 people from the plane, because, you know, that's why this isn't a rally. This is, again, friendly protest. We're not allowed to do rallies, right? Because of rules and regulations, which we want to adhere to. But from the plane to an oil well, from the plane to getting law enforcement, all of the sheriffs in Florida gave us their full endorsement, all right? And in Ohio, we went to a plant, Whirlpool. They were out of business. They were going out of business, and now they're a thriving company because they were dumping washing machines and dryers into our country, and I stopped it. And I said, you want to do that? We're putting a massive tariff. And all of a sudden, Whirlpool and thousands of people, they work in Ohio and other places, it became a really terrific company again. And we went there. But if you look at the kind of enthusiasm we have never had the enthusiasm that we have right now, and that includes 2016. And I hate to say it, and I don't want to be rude because I would never be rude, but let me just tell you, Joe Biden has no enthusiasm. No enthusiasm. And you don't win without enthusiasm. Like, people aren't saying we got to get him in. The only reason they want him in is they want to stop our great agenda. That's the only reason. That's the only thing he is going. And nobody wins when you're not on the side of enthusiasm. So we have more than we ever had in 2016. And in 2016, nobody has ever seen a campaign with that kind of enthusiasm. And we have much more now. But the socialists will not stop until they've ransacked America and laid waste to our cities. Your eyes don't lie. Look at Portland. It's been turned into a war zone, and we want to go in and solve it. We saved the courthouse. You believe it? We had to send in Homeland Security. They were great. They easily saved it after it was pounded. Portland was supposed to be watching it, but they weren't. So we sent them in. And we will send in the National Guard, just like we did in Minnesota. You saw what happened there. Minneapolis. The National Guard went in. Within 15 minutes, the whole thing was over. They should have called them in a week earlier. My beautiful, beautiful Fifth Avenue in New York has been looted and pillaged. It was allowed to happen by an incompetent mayor that doesn't have a clue. Look at what's happened to our diamond. New York was a diamond for the country. Look how far it's gone down. In Chicago, the mayor literally raised up the drawbridges to prevent hordes of rioters from ransacking the city. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? 17 officers were injured in Chicago. They had a week, a little while ago, during a weekend spree where 78 people were shot and 18 died. That's worse than Afghanistan, which we're getting out of. That's worse than Iraq, which we're almost out of. That's worse than Syria, which we're out of, except we kept the oil, but that's okay. We don't have to talk about that. But this is the future that Joe Biden plans to bring to every city, town, and suburb in our nation. And you know, for those suburbs, I keep hearing about suburban women. I made the... Oh. Well, you know, in one speech recently, I called you suburban housewives, and they all loved it. But when I got, they said, sir, I don't know if that's politically correct. I said, don't worry about it. They'll get over it, right? But we saved the suburbs, and you know what I'm talking about. And they said about the rule, it's a rule, very strong. It's like a law. They said, sir, we can amend it. I said, no, I don't want it amended. No, we can really amend it, bring it down. No, I don't want it. I want it terminated, and we terminated it. It's gone. And it'll be reinstituted if Joe Biden comes in, not by him, because he has no idea what the law says or what it means, but by the people that will be running our country. It will not be him. It will not be him running our country. They will turn every city into a Portland, and they wouldn't mind. No one will be safe in a Biden-run America. But while I'm president, the United States will use every tool, and we've done it. By the way, our country is doing great. We have the pandemic. Should have never been allowed to happen by China. Should have never been allowed to happen. They released it. They didn't release it in China, but it came to the United States and Europe, 188 all over the world, 188 countries all over the world. We're not going to forget it. We're not going to forget it. But we're doing great coming back. We're coming back, and our numbers are better than almost all countries. I will tell you that. Despite what you hear, look at all of them up there. Scott, look at all of that fake news. It's unbelievable. Unfortunately, Fox has become fake news, too. I don't know what happens to these people, right? Do you agree? At least the other side, you know where they're coming from. But I'll use every tool at my disposal to arrest those violators of federal law and put them behind bars, and that's what we're doing. You know, when they were ripping down the statues, our great statues, they were ripping them down, I passed and signed something that's beautiful. It says 10 years in prison if you knock down a statue. Amazing. What happened? What happened, Scott? I don't see it anymore. Now they go up, they look at a statue, and they say, I don't know. 10 years is a long time. They say, let's get out of here. But did you notice that? 3 months ago, I signed it. They were going to have thousands of people march on Washington to rip down statues. And these people are sick. They're anarchists. They were going to knock down Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. He was fair game, Abraham Lincoln. So I said, these people are sick. They are troubled individuals. They're anarchists and agitators. They're not just protesters. They call them peaceful protesters. You're peaceful protesters on the record. You're peaceful protesters. And by the way, you're a lot, look at this guy over here. Look at the size of that guy. You're a lot tougher than they are, just so you understand that. Right? Look at the size of that guy. But Biden and Harris are pro-crime and anti-cop. There's no other way to say it. And we're anti-crime. We are pro-cop all the way. I've gotten the endorsement. I got the endorsement. Pat Lynch, New York City Police, they gave us an endorsement. First time, I think, he said, I think it's the first time they've ever done it. That means it's been a long time. They don't do that kind of thing. They endorse me. All the sheriffs in Florida endorse me. What you have, all of the law enforcement in Texas endorse me. We're getting endorsement from, we haven't found anybody that won't endorse in law enforcement. We haven't found anybody. And if we do, I think they'd probably be in big trouble. I really do. I think they'd be in big trouble because nobody could figure it out. We are getting the endorsement of law, and these are great people. These are great Americans. These are people that want our people to be safe. So we're thrilled today to be joined by county sheriffs from across the state, and I'm deeply honored to receive the endorsement of more than 36 Wisconsin sheriffs. Where are you? Good. Good. Wow. Thank you, fellas. They're good-looking people. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I like that mask. MAGA. MAGA. I wonder if he supports Trump. He's got MAGA this big. I wonder if he's a Trump supporter. Hey, thank you, sheriffs. We appreciate it. Good-looking guys. Good-looking guys. And I'll never let you down, sheriffs. I'll never let you down. You know that. You know, we gave you all of the surplus equipment. We had millions and millions of dollars of surplus equipment, and Obama and Biden didn't want to give it. They didn't want to give it. They thought it looked too militaristic. meaning a lot of it was really defensive equipment so that we can keep our law enforcement safe. And I distributed it, all of hundreds of millions of dollars. It was sitting there drawing dust in warehouses that we were probably paying a fortune for all over the country. And you got it, we all got it, everybody got it, and everybody's happy. As president and as your president, I will always stand with law enforcement, and that's something that I can't even imagine anybody saying anything differently. But this other side does. They say it differently. I mean, nobody can even understand it. This November, the voters of Wisconsin will not surrender their beloved state to the left-wing mob, and that's what would happen. In 78 days, we're going to stop the radical left. We are going to win the state of Wisconsin, and we are going to win 4 more years. And then after that, we'll go for another 4 years because, you know what, they spied on my campaign. We should get a redo of 4 years. We caught him spying on can you believe it? Did you see the FBI agent? He agreed, he's pleading that he forged documents. Oh, that's good. No, wait till you see, it's gonna be incredible. But they spied on my campaign. They spied on our campaign. Nobody has ever seen anything like it. You can call it whatever you want. I use the word treason. They got caught. They got caught. The same people doing speeches on tape tonight, they got caught. So it's too bad. So we have some great friends with us tonight. I want to thank Representative Glenn Grothman. Glenn, thank you very much. And Jim Sensenbrenner is around here someplace. Thank you, Jim. Thanks, Jim. These guys are warriors. Also, a woman who did so great. She was so great in Michigan. She headed up Michigan, and a Republican hadn't won Michigan in many, many years. And we got a lot of car companies building right now in Michigan, don't we? Ronna McDaniel. We won Michigan. I said, get me the woman that kept calling me in Michigan. You have to come one more time, sir. I said, this is it. Then I'd leave and she'd call the next day, one more time. But, you know, she did a great job. Thank you very much. Ron is fantastic. Head of the RNC. And the head of the Wisconsin Republican Party, Chairman Andrew Hitt. Andrew, great. How are we doing, Andrew? Looking good? Beautiful kids, Andrew. Good. I'm going to blame you, Andrew, if they don't do it. Okay, I'll fire you so fast, Andrew. Andrew's done a great job, thank you. I think we are looking great here. You know, we won it last time, and you remember what a big shockwave, because the Republican hadn't won it for a long time. And they were waiting for Pennsylvania, and we won Pennsylvania. If we had lost every vote, we would have won, but they didn't want to call it. It got later and later and later. Then Wisconsin came in, and then Michigan came in, and then Pennsylvania came in. By that time, we already had North Carolina. You know, it's hard for Republicans. You have to run the whole board because they start off. Now, we're going to play for New York. With all of the crime in New York, I'm going to play for New York because we did well in New York. We did well in New York, but we're going to play for New York. We're going to play, I don't know, guess we'll do a little bit of a tiny shot maybe in California. They like me. And we'll do a tiny little shot in Illinois. The other one we're going to do, we're going to go after New Jersey. We're going to go after Virginia. We have a crazy governor of Virginia. He doesn't want you to have guns, and he doesn't mind not only abortion, he doesn't mind execution, because after birth, we'll decide what to do with the baby. Right? No. Did you hear this guy? First time I had heard of it, Scott. After birth, we will decide and we will discuss with the mother. And that's the first time I've heard of it. This is the guy that likes to pretend he's Michael Jackson, right, with the dancing. His wife saved him, great embarrassment. We have another great friend of mine, a great politician, but really he's much more than a politician, He's an exceptional human being. He is tough. I had to go against him in those presidential primaries, and I want to tell you, there's nobody tougher. But he basically loves this state. I mean, he loves this state. And he should be your governor right now. He should be. But he's an exceptional man. Scott Walker, Governor Scott Walker. Thank you. I'll tell you one thing, he's one of the most respected men. He goes into Washington, everybody stands up. They really do respect him a lot. And it's really something. The next time you run, please don't put marijuana on the ballot at the same time you're running. You brought out like 1 million people that nobody ever knew were coming out, right? Because there was no way. But you can do whatever you want. You know that. You're going to be successful, whatever you want to do. Thank you very much, Scott, for being here. So before the virus came in from China, unemployment in Wisconsin had reached the lowest rate ever recorded. Ever recorded. That was part of Scott's thing, too. I have to give him a little credit, too, right? I have to do that. But we created 15,000 Wisconsin manufacturing jobs. Everybody said that would be impossible. 121,000 Wisconsinites were lifted out of poverty, and 100,000 were lifted off of food stamps because they had good jobs. And we had created the single greatest economy in the history of the world. Our national economy was better than any economy that had ever happened before it. And China was having the worst year they had in 67 years. Not that I want that, but we took in billions of dollars. Nobody ever charged China for doing anything. What the money they took out of our country for so many years, and the presidents that preceded me should be ashamed of themselves for allowing it to happen. And that includes Sleepy Joe as part of that team. But then we were hit by the virus, and I had to close it up. I took the greatest economy, and I closed it up, and we saved millions of lives. As many lives as shouldn't have been one. But what you see today, you could multiply it times 10 or 15 or maybe even 20. It would have been it would not have been sustainable. And now we're bringing it back, and we're bringing it back so strongly. I took unprecedented action to save the U.S. economy and support Wisconsin families. Under our Paycheck Protection program, we helped save over 1 million Wisconsin jobs. Earlier this month, I issued a directive granting emergency payroll tax relief to every worker making under $100,000 per year. And this temporary relief will help tens of millions of American workers, and it's something that people really, I'll tell you, the great economists, that's what they wanted, the payroll tax cut, more than any other thing. And it really applies. Number one, they opened their business. It's great for them, but really great for you. And it's a big saving. It's a lot of money in your pocket. If Republicans win in November, we will forgive these payments in full. Thanks to my administration's policies, we're now witnessing the fastest, and you've seen this, right? The fastest economic recovery in the history of our country. Over the past 3 months, we have already gained much more than 9 million jobs nationwide. That's a record. That's not even close, by the way. And you know, you heard about the famous V, and they say, well, maybe not a V, it's got to be an M, it's got to be an S, it's got to be... They have no clue. It's turned out to be a super V because the numbers are much better. When you see the numbers coming, retail spending has fully recovered and is now at an all-time high, and auto production has surged 28%. And in leaving the great plane right behind me, and we have a lot of televisions. We have televisions in closets. I was saying to another group, we have televisions on floors and ceilings. We have you can't escape it. If you want to get away from Trump, you can't be in that plane because the fake news and Trump, you know, they're going to go out of business when I do leave in, let's say, 16, 20 years, something like that. So when we leave, When we leave, they're all out of business. I wouldn't say that Sleepy Joe would be very exciting to cover. I don't think a lot of... Let's turn on the television. Let's watch what Biden's saying today, darling. But, you know, I just noticed on television that NASDAQ, that's a big deal. NASDAQ hit an all-time record today, the highest price ever. And the others are right behind it. I mean, who would think we have a pandemic? I think we're way on the other side of the pandemic. We're doing great with vaccines and therapeutics and everything else. But regardless, we're doing great with it. But who would think that we hit a record with NASDAQ and the others are right there? If you would have said we're at 28,000 on the Dow or just about, and if you would have said NASDAQ hit a new record high, that's great for your 401ks. Look, you get the wrong person in here. Your 401ks, wave goodbye to them. They'll be worthless. They'll be worthless, right? 401ks, that's one of the things. A lot of people are bragging, you know. About 4 months ago, they were very depressed. I said, don't sell, don't worry about it, don't sell. Forget about this. And most people held, and they're very, very good. But husbands come up to me and wives come up to me, and one wife was saying, sir, I always thought my husband was a financial loser, a total loser. He was this big, good-looking policeman, actually. And she said, you know, he's never been good with money. But over the years, over the last few years, I think he was up 89%. I said, that's not as good as most people. He said, no, my husband is a financial genius. And this good-looking policeman looked at me and said, thank you, sir, because I was abused for a long time about the way I invested money. And your 401ks are great, and your stocks are great. You know, when you see these big companies going up, that's everybody. That's everybody. The stock market, that's everybody. That's just an indication. And they're smart people. They know where it's going. You know, they have an instinct that's better than most people, and they see what's happening. Now, with all of that, we have a headwind. And the headwind is, if for any reason we didn't win, that stock market is going to go down like a rock goes through water. I hate to tell you, folks, so good looking. If we didn't have that headwind, your stocks would be even higher right now, even higher. So on election night, expect your 401ks and your stocks to go very, very high. And I do believe we're going to have a tremendous success. I do believe. Again, the most enthusiasm that anybody has ever seen in any election is this one. The most enthusiasm. So we got to get out and vote. You got to be careful with your ballots. Be careful. Be careful. Your absentee ballot's great. Your others, you got to be very careful. Or go to vote. Just go to vote. You know? Go to vote. We have a little problem here. You have a Democrat governor who is will do anything to turn things around. How's Tom Tiffany doing, by the way? Another win. We just had a nice win, right? Is Tom is around here someplace. Tom Tiffany just had a great win. We're winning a lot. We've won a lot of House seats. We're going to take back the House. We're going to take back the House. We are. As part of our great rebuilding the U.S. military, we also signed a $5.5 billion contract to build combat ships in Marinette, Wisconsin, supporting thousands of jobs across the state. All right? We've totally rebuilt our military. We've spent $2.5 trillion, all made in the USA, all made in the USA. We have new fighter jets. We have new rockets. We've upgraded our nuclear. Hope to God we never have to use it, but nobody's even close. It was getting very tired, What we've done with our military is incredible with tanks. Speaking of tanks, we left our great tank. I was supposed to close down. We have a tank factory in Lima, Ohio, and it was scheduled to close, and I went to see it, and I said, no way we're closing it, because there's no way we could ever reproduce that incredible. And you know what happened? We didn't close it, and we are building tanks like you wouldn't believe, but What we've done with our military has been incredible. And Biden has promised to slash our defense budget, destroying critical jobs. But more importantly, if we don't have defense, everything we talk about is meaningless. We have to have defense of our country, especially when you look at what's happening outside of our borders. So we have the greatest, right now, when I took it over, it was totally depleted, it was gone. Right now, we have the greatest military we've ever had, the greatest equipment by far we've ever had. If Kamala and Biden are ever elected, this recovery will come to a total shutdown, to use their word, permanently. For no scientific reason, Biden wants to inflict dramatic harm on millions of Americans with his basement strategy, locking everyone in their homes. You look at what's happening with some of, and you got a dose of it right here, I hate to say, with some of these Democrat governors, they just don't want to open it up. By the way, on November 4th, they'll announce, well, we've decided to open. November 4th. You got to get out to those polls. I'm serious. This is the most dangerous election we've ever had, the most dangerous, because I don't think we can ever bring it back if they get in. I don't think there's anything called a comeback. It'll be another Venezuela. I used to say that lightly. I now say it very strongly because it's a similar ideology. This will be a large-scale, very large-scale Venezuela if they win. We're going to win. My administration, by contrast, is following the science, applying common sense, mitigation, sheltering. You know this. We got to shelter. We got to take care. But what do we really have to do? We have to take care of our elderly people. Our elderly people with heart problems, with diabetes. And we're launching Operation Warp Speed to deliver effective treatments and ultimately a vaccine and therapeutics. More than 270 therapies are in clinical trials. Can you believe it? 270. And you're going to be hearing some very good news very, very soon. Now, you know, we're dealing with the deep state, right? So I'm watching it very closely. I don't need to have them announce on November 4th, ladies and gentlemen, we've found the vaccine. It's perfect. I don't need that. I don't need that. And hopefully everyone's looking to do the right thing. We want to get it out quickly, but we're very close, both on therapy and on therapeutics and on vaccines. Advances in treatment have reduced the fatality rate in adults by 85% since April. Think of that. Think of that. 3 vaccines are in the final stage of clinical trials, and we're mass producing doses already of that vaccine because we think it works. And we're going to have it out very quickly. We will defeat the China virus. We will have the greatest economy that we've ever had. Next year, unless somebody wants to quadruple your taxes and the crazy things that they're talking about, we will have next year the single greatest economy we've ever had. So Biden's been there for 47 years, and he's personally supported every globalist sellout of the last half century. He voted for NAFTA, one of the worst trade deals in history, for the China entry into the World Trade Organization, a total catastrophe, for Korea. The Korean deal was horrible. We renegotiated it. Now it's a really great deal for us. 1 in 4 U.S. manufacturing jobs disappeared almost overnight. Biden was strongly in favor of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, would have destroyed our automobile manufacturing business. It would have been a disaster for our country. I ended it. But I approved the Dakota Access Pipeline immediately, the Keystone Pipeline, 48,000 jobs. One of the great ripoffs that was done, in my opinion, to hurt our country because we have so much energy, we're now energy independent, was I got out of this horrible Paris Climate Accord, which was a ripoff on our country. It would have shipped millions of American jobs to China while allowing China to pollute with impunity, and they don't even enter the agreement until 2030, so it would have been a disaster. So many things are stacked against us, even in the World Trade Organization. China is considered a developing nation. Therefore, they get tremendous, guess what? We don't accept it. We've informed them we don't accept it. And we're not approving any of those judges until such time as that ends. So time and again, sleepy Joe Biden put China first and American last, even to a point where his son, who had absolutely, where's Hunter? Has anyone seen Hunter? He's had absolutely no experience, walked away with $1.5 billion to manage. That's millions of dollars a year. And if you go to the pros of Wall Street, they'll tell you it's an impossibility. It was a 10-minute meeting. He walked away with $1.5 billion from China. How do you think he's going to do negotiating, Biden, against China, okay? Nobody's done what I've done to China, to Russia. By the way, remember, we were going to be in a war with North Korea. What happened to the war? We're getting along. Kim Jong-un, we get along. Let's see what happens. In the meantime, it's almost 4 years, right? Remember, we were going to be in a war. Look at all those people back there. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. Look at all the fake news. Isn't that incredible? Incredible. It's a lot of fake news back there, Scott. At the end of Joe Biden's 8 years as vice president, nearly 2 million Americans of prime working age had dropped out of the workforce. Our factories were stolen. Our country was doing lousy. He lost nearly 200,000 manufacturing jobs. He was, by the way, a disaster on swine flu. He got a horrible rating in Gallup. Look at the Gallup poll. Look at the Gallup poll. So they call it H1N1, right? Do you remember? H1, swine flu. H1N1. He calls it N1H1, but I don't hold him on that one. That's one of the small mistakes. The bigger mistakes is when he says he's in a different state when he's speaking. Great to be in the great state of Ohio, but no, we're not in Ohio. You know what you do? you know what you do when that happens? You just walk off because there's nothing you can do to recover. It's happened to him like, what, 6 times? Almost every time. That's why he doesn't talk. He's shot. We got to say, look, one thing I've learned. Putin, President Xi of China, right? Kim Jong-un, Erdogan of Turkey. They are world-class chess players. We can't have a guy who's shot and in his best years wasn't very good. He wasn't very good. We can't have it. These guys are world-class chess players. They're all dreaming. They're all dreaming of Joe Biden. I'll tell you who's dreaming about him is Iran. If we win, and when we win, we are going to have a deal with Iran immediately. They're just waiting, hoping that Biden gets in. Hoping. John Kerry is saying, oh, he should have. By the way, if anybody violated the Logan Act, it was John Kerry, right? John Kerry. Not General Flynn, John Kerry. The cost of health insurance for American families had skyrocketed under Obama and Biden by $4,800, and nearly 11 million more Americans were on food stamps. So Biden's abysmal record, but you do have to check swine flu, because that was peanuts compared to this monster. This monster is the worst thing that's happened in this world since 1917, right? Where it could have been 100 million people died. Swine flu, though, look at his ratings in Gallup. Check them out. They gave them really bad ratings. Joe Biden, not that that matters, but that does matter, right? You know, when a guy is critical, and we've done an incredible job, including among the best numbers in the world. Joe Biden's abysmal record of failure and betrayal ended the day I took the oath of office. We got our people back working. We made real deals with foreign countries. I told Japan, Prime Minister Abe, great guy, but I said, Prime Minister, you have to build places in Michigan, you have to build your places in other countries, other areas of our country. It's not fair. We have a big deficit. Go to Wisconsin, go to Ohio, go to these places. He said he's going to do it. Many, many Japanese plants now are being built all over our country. Somebody had to ask him to do it. Somebody had to tell them to do it. It's not fair. And it was all happening. Then it came in. Now it's going out. Watch what's going to happen. Watch how good the third quarter is. The third quarter is coming up right before the election. Watch how good Scott Walker, even you will be impressed by those numbers. Even Scott. But we passed massive tax cuts. We passed massive regulation cuts. And you know what? You might not feel this. Maybe the most important thing I did for making the economy great wasn't just the tax cuts, it was the regulation cuts. Because the regulation cuts allowed companies to go out and build projects that they couldn't get approved for 15 years and 20 years, right? Big deal. We replaced probably the worst trade deal ever, NAFTA, with the brand new USMCA, which puts us right at the top, and now Canada and Mexico are doing what's right for our country. It's been a great deal. And when the Wisconsin timber industry was being threatened, my administration took immediate action. We imposed tariffs on dumped foreign goods and subsidized products, saving countless timber jobs all across your state, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. You were taken advantage of by stupid U.S. policy. Canada was taking advantage of this country. Not anymore. If Biden and the crew get in, the radical left will bring timber production to a total halt. I stood up to China's decades of trading abuses, and when China targeted our farmers, we provided $28 billion in relief. We gave our farmers. I said to Secretary Perdue, Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny, how much they've targeted our farmers? How much have they been targeted for? Sir, 2 years ago it was $12 billion. Last year it was $16 billion, $28 billion total. I said, guess what? We're charging tariffs of $28 billion to China. We charged them much more. And we gave $12 billion and $16, $28. We gave 20. Any farmers in here? Any farmers? Did I do a good job for you, please? I don't hear any farmers complaining. And I have, am I right? We did a good job. I'll tell you what, with a more typical president, I don't want to be nice, more typical, every farmer would be out of business right now. But we gave $28 billion to the farmers. Think of that. And the farmers are doing well. And then we signed a deal with China, and I was very excited because I had a very good relationship with President Xi. We signed a great deal, and under the deal, they would buy $240 billion, $50 billion of farm product, and then manufacturing. Once the China flu came in, once the China stuff came in, I was not really, I couldn't, it was different. But I have to tell you, 4 days ago, the corn order, right, was the largest corn order in the history of ordering corn. It was the biggest China order, 2 days, the biggest order in the history of corn. Then they did, if you look at soybeans, it was the largest soybean order in history, and also beef, cattle, etc. So it just shows you how smart China is. We sign a deal, and the plague comes in. It might have been a mistake. It might have been on purpose. Who knows what happened? We'll figure it out. But whatever it was no good. They could have stopped it. But they know my attitude. I don't like it. I don't like it. So a normal country that's not so smart in that position, Scott, would have said, oh, we don't like the way he's talking about us. Let's immediately shut down. He didn't do that. They said, let's order more from the farmers than we've ever ordered. Biggest corn, biggest soybean, biggest cattle. And now I'm getting my farmers saying, sir, we're starting to like China. I said, you know what? We got to be very careful. You understand that. So what they've done is they've gone out, they've made massive orders. So think how smart that is, though. 99% of people in that position would say, well, we're not going to order anymore. They say, let's order so much that they become almost reliant on us. Very smart, very, very smart. America has spent nearly 4 years cleaning up the mess we inherited from Joe Biden's 47-year worth of disaster. You know, it's incredible. He's in there for 47 years, he does nothing. Now all of a sudden he's going to do all these things. He's going to get tough on China, sure. China will own the United States, if we don't make this deal, and we were going up, if we don't get elected, China will own the, mark my word, well, I hope you're not going to be able to test it out, okay? China will own the United States. Iran will insist on an even better deal than they made with Obama. They got $150 billion, $1.8 billion in cash, green cash, for nothing. We got nothing out of that deal. And I terminated that deal. I terminated that deal. And we moved the capital of Israel to Jerusalem. That's for the evangelicals. You know, it's amazing with that. The evangelicals are more excited about that than Jewish people. It's really, right? It's incredible. But we did that. And Golan Heights, don't forget Golan Heights. We did Golan Heights. So we've done a lot. In February, Biden said, if you elect me, your taxes are going to be raised. They're not going to be cut. Now, that's a quote. How the hell do you do this? That will be. Only in this state can we get away with it. But you happen to be right, okay? You happen to be right. So I just want to say this. This has been an incredible experience for me, getting to know you. I've been here a lot. We won the state. We weren't expected to win the state. We've been great for each other. We've been great for each other. It's really, you know, it's a partnership in a sense, but we've been great for each other. We brought a lot of business to the state. We're bringing a lot more business to the state, whether it's the ships or the crops or any one of so many different things, especially maybe the trade deal with Canada and Mexico, because of Wisconsin and your specialized milk, a small subject, but the right farmers got me at the right time, and they said, wow, you guys are really being taken advantage of, with Canada charging you 287% tariff. I think you mostly know about that. But unless you were up here a lot like I was, you'd never find that out. And I worked with Scott, and I worked with others, and we solved all of these problems. We solved all of them, Scott, right? This is the most important election we ever had. We've got to stop these radical left maniacs. We've got to win this election. We have many things to do. We want to finish it up. It's no different. You plant a tree. It takes a little time to grab on. In addition, we have other things we're going to do. More regulation cutting, even more tax cutting. We're going to be doing very substantial tax cuts because that's an incentive toward growth. And we're going to do it. And we proved to be right. We proved to be 100% right. We're not letting them raise your taxes on you and destroy everything that we've done. So I just want to thank the incredible people of Wisconsin. You really are. You really are. You're a state that, despite everything that they were saying, well, Wisconsin can't be won. Wisconsin. Guess what? And I think we're way far ahead. I do believe we're way far ahead where we were. If you look back 4 years, I think we have much more spirit. You see, this is easier in a sense. Now, the virus made it a little bit more difficult, maybe a lot more difficult, because all of a sudden something happened that nobody ever even thought about. But we handled it. We handled it, and we handled it well, and we're now helping other countries with the ventilators and other things. But the easier part is, I used to come up as a businessman. I was very successful. And I'd say, we're going to do this, we're going to do tax cuts, we're going to even Space Force. I never even talked about Space Force. We did more. Somebody said we actually did more than we promised. That's never happened with a politician before, right? We did actually more, but I never talked about Space Force. And then I got into office. I said, we need that, because you look at what China's doing, what Russia's doing, what others are looking at. So we have Space Force. First time in 78 years since the Air Force that's happened. full scale. So it's great. And you're a big beneficiary of that, as you know. So we have to win the election. We can't play games. Get out and vote. Do those beautiful absentee ballots, or just make sure your vote gets counted. Make sure, because the only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged. Remember that. It's the only way we're going to lose this election. So we have to be very careful. Look, this is more than this election. That's a big statement. The only way they're going to win is that way, and we can't let that happen. And you know, our post office, we're going to make our post office great. It's been a disaster for many years. We're going to take care of the men and women in the post office, and we're going to make it great. Right now, it's a laughingstock. Amazon and these companies come in, they drop all of their packages into the post office, and the post office loses just hundreds of billions of dollars delivering these packages. Let them deliver it, or let them pay the right price. You know, so that's it. But we're going to make our post office strong. We're going to make our post office really strong and really great. We're going to be proud of it again. It lost $78 billion in a short period of time over the last 12 or 13 years. $78 billion. We want to make our post office strong. We want to be proud of it. I want to thank you very much. You've been my friends, my true friends. We will win, and we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.